good, y'all? It's your boy Herb.
And it's your girl Mo.
And welcome to our
soon-to-be world-renowned podcast. Young, black, and figuring it out.
What up, though?
What it do?
Whatever we tell it. What we telling it today?
So much.
Hey, I love your answers. Be general. It's like, yeah, I got you. You can't give me. I'm going to give you a general answer, y'all. That's dope. Yeah. How are we feeling this lovely day?
You know, amazing.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Ooh, stupendous.
Phenomenal.
What? Dang, I got nothing. I was trying to go back and forth with you. What's another one? Spectacular.
Mm-hmm. That's a good one.
Yeah. I lost already, but
okay.
that'd have been good.
You know, one day you'll get me.
I know. Okay. Yeah, I also am feeling pretty good.
You want to say stupendous or something?
Nah, I was going to say something not safe for work, but no, I'm feeling great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we're glad to be here, y'all. Listen, we got an amazing episode today that talks about something that many of us has to navigate through. Unfortunately, and choose to do or not do, but we ain't going to get there yet because we're going to start off with the what did we figure out this week?
Yes. What did we figure out this week?
We're going first. You want rock, paper, scissors like Squid Game?
No, you go first because I'm like, I thought I had it, but where did it go?
You lost it? Okay. Here's what I found. This is more specific, not as philosophical, is that addiction is not easy.
You and these ways of saying, please elaborate.
Yeah, addiction is that's tough. And I realize people get addicted to many things, right? Not just substances, but it might be, it could be work related. It could be food related. It could be really a bunch of things. It's like to actually get out of addiction is not easy. Like, and I think people see that as like a choice. This is another episode. We should do a podcast episode about this. But people see it as just a choice. Like just stop. And I think especially when it's not a substance. When it's a substance, there's all types of stigma. And that's the worst kind of stigma because of the impacts, but also things that aren't substances that people are addicted to. They're just like, well, just stop doing this thing.
Right.
It's like, nah, bro, it's not that easy. Like, it's actually a chemical, like, imbalance. Like, you building habits around it. And it's like, one of my mentors, who now my executive coach, said that, like, people don't do anything unless they perceive that it has an associated value. Nothing, even if it's painful, right? Like, take a substance that's harming you because there's an associated value to that. You know what I'm saying? And so, but no, that came to me too during work. I bumped into, and I won't say any patient information because we can't do that here, but you would not cancel us or get us, y'all. Here we go. But there was a, like my little not get canceled disclaimers.
Is he like this? It's the finger pointing. This is why.
They ain't gonna get us, y'all. Listen, I ain't gonna say no patient information. I'm not gonna say what they look like, or I ain't gonna say no genders. But the person was there.
This man.
And they were going through something, and they had come in, and their the impacts of like going through withdrawal had impacted the way they were engaging, even with the nurses and the staff. And they couldn't even get the help they wanted to get.
Right.
And some people were frustrated and whatnot. And I'm like, yeah, they didn't yes, who knows the context of what happened in their life to get them there? Right. But right now, the way they're behaving is not really their choice of how they're behaving, right? Like, there's so many things that impact the way they're behaving, and the things that are happening right now. And it's like, it's not just that simply like easy, like just leave and quit tomorrow. Right. It's like, nah, that's not that. It's not that easy. And the same thing goes for anything, right? Whether it be like, you smoking or drinking or sex or whatever it might be. Yeah. Like, that stuff hard, man. So, like, it's just not easy. So, me seeing that now and realizing the impact that that's having on people, especially with the knowing what happened to black and brown folks during the crack epidemic that was brought on by, let me not get started, but we know what happened there.
Might as well finish.
But brought on by, you know what I'm saying? Listen, a U.S. government and American society that wanted to bring us down that benefits from the detriment of black and brown folks, and it's been that way since the days of slavery. But we just keep pushing. And also the opioid epidemic, which had happened for many years and did not become as prevalent as it was until it started to impact other communities outside of the black and brown community. But that's okay. Yeah. We'll keep it pushing. So with all of that going on, addiction is not easy. I figured it out. And we need to push and push and push to help people because people need help.
Well said.
Thank you.
That was excellent. I'm glad he went first. I figured out personally that I can choose to not act or respond in my feelings.
Wait, let's just breathe that from. Let's just pause. Can you say it one more time?
I can choose to not react or act in my feelings.
So you can get up out your feelings.
I can get up out my feelings. Yeah, and it's not easy. I'm not going to lie to you.
Okay.
But I recognize.
What you recognize?
I recognize that sometimes the way people say things or what I'm hearing, it's not always what they're saying. Sometimes it's how I'm interpreting it, right? And you immediately feel a type of way. And that requires you to want to then say or do something. I notice that there are moments when that's not necessary. It's not going to better me, right? It's not going to benefit me. It's not going to improve the situation or the circumstance. Sometimes it's not even about swallowing your feelings. It's like redirecting them. Ways of just shifting.
That was a line. I'm going to give you some poetry snaps.
Thank you.
You're not suppressing your feelings. But what you doing?
Redirecting them. Yeah.
Into something that could do what?
Benefit me. Ooh. Benefit us. Make a change that I need to see.
You talking crazy right now.
I'm just saying. It's I learn. Sometimes you gotta learn the hard way, but I learn. And that's where
Let me dap you up. You talking that talk right now.
Thank you.
Amen. No, that's good. That one got me fired up.
Yay.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah, but it ain't about me. It's about you. Let's keep going. So what brought this on?
That's a great question. I don't know. I notice there are times when people will tell me things, and maybe it's about somebody or whatever the case may be, and I can feel I'm physically impacted. Like it is bothering me. Sometimes I want to defend others, whatever the case may be. Sometimes I'm just so angry because I want better for this situation, and there are hindrances. Sometimes those are people, barriers in the way. But me responding or acting out of those feelings is not going to help nobody. If anything, it's going to make the situation worse.
Right.
It's going to cause unnecessary problems. I'm going to I'm going to become a target, right? I'm going to bring all this negative attention to me.
Amen.
For who? For what?
Amen.
And so forth. I'm like, you know what, Mo? We got to stay aware.
Yeah.
Keep like it tagged almost in your brain, like this is how things are moving. So this is how you need to move.
Oh, yeah, that's real. And I'm telling you, I'm getting it's like, you feel them, you see what's going on, but I am getting a plaque, a shirt, maybe even some underwear that's going to say, my name is Bennett. And what? He
ain't in it.
And I ain't
sick
in
of
it.
Bennett. Bennett be popping up all the time.
Listen, be something going on. Like, listen, y'all, my name is Bennett. And I ain't in it, baby. I'm chilling.
Since my name is Bonnet, I feel like I'm right there. I'm one step away.
Hey, facts. Like,
I let her off.
I'm chilling.
Yeah.
Nah, that's real. I rock with that though, and I really appreciate the idea of you can still feel your feelings, and they might be valid and right and all that, but it's not gonna do you or anybody else any good to just respond in your feelings. I think it's good to check in and say what brought upon that feeling,
right?
Because it's probably directing you to something valid,
right?
But to respond just out of those,
yeah.
Nah.
Yeah. And I mean, you have been shielded because I've been working on this actively. He don't even know. He don't even know the boulders that were coming for him. And then I realized this ain't worth it.
She's stupid.
Actively thought it through. And then I approached it differently. And ooh, look at that. Hugs, love.
Hey, listen, I don't know why you
He's
mad.
like, I don't know what boulder she's talking about. Exactly. And therein lies the point.
Y'all know why I don't know what boulder she's talking about? Because my name is Bennett, and I ain't in it.
Applications have been sent out. You can get them via email for new best friends because this right here.
Keeping it real with y'all. Okay, listen, but no, that was a really good one.
Thank you.
I thought we came strong with the what we figured out this week.
1-2 punch.
We should just stop. Listen, y'all might be listening right now thinking. Nah, but that's real. Okay, but today's episode, man, is no laughing matter.
So we start laughing. That's perfect.
All right, I'm done. I'm back. Okay, so today's episode, in all seriousness, is code switching, survival tool, or inauthentic. Let me say it again for him. Code switching. Is it a survival tool?
Is it?
Or inauthentic? Let's talk through it. Okay. So first we're going to go through, talk about this, and like this specifically for us navigating these environments. I know we got some personal experiences and things we can speak to from a lived experience way.
Of course.
But we definitely going to talk about like what are some of the details and things around code switching for our audience and our members and our folks who might be like, hey, what does that even mean, right? So let's walk through it. So the definition of code switching, if you look into the dictionary, if you look in the dictionary, you'll see code switching is about changing or adapting your language, right, to the audience that's there.
Right.
But the truth of the matter is the idea of code switching has really grown beyond just the language, right? It's the way you behave, the way you think, the way like your brain works, like how comfortable do you feel when we talk about code switching, right? And just to get into like the pure definition, let's just give a definition for those who need it. Code switching involves adjusting one's style of speech, appearance, behavior, and expression in ways that will optimize the comfort of those who are in your context in the moment.
Yes.
Right? And that's coming from Harvard. I think that's really real. So let's say it again. Adjusting one's style of speech, appearance, behavior, and expression in ways that will optimize the comfort of those in your context. So not you. Right. You're deprioritizing you and emphasizing the comfort of those within your context, no matter what that context is. And so let's talk about it. Like, what are some examples? Like, what do we mean by that? So there's a video in 2012 that's our boy, Barack Obama.
Rocky.
AKA Obeezy, as I call him. Obeezy. Right? He was in the locker room. It was the Olympic Games, right? And so you go through, you can see him, he's like walking through, he's giving handshakes to the coaches who are all white, right? And then he gets to LeBron and he daps him up, right? And it's like that was an exact example of code switching, right? You're prioritizing the comfort of those who are in your context. So in that very own video or that very short clip, you saw that the white folks, older white men, adapted the comfort to like they're gonna do a firm handshake,
right?
But he knew in this context again, adapting to the comfort of his audience, he changed it to dapping up LeBron and KD.
And was there any audio?
No, but the video I saw was hilarious. They had a background audio of a song that is not safe for work, but it was a funny one.
Because I can imagine he was like, "How you doing? How you doing? Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. What up, dog?
Yeah, what up? My baby was going on. How's everything? We'll catch you after, my guy. Yeah.
It's like, and I don't think it was a conscious thing at all. It's just that natural, fluid movement.
It's just what you do. Which, okay, let's talk about that. That's such a great comment. So, not a conscious thing, something you naturally do, which means that we are socialized for that and through that.
Absolutely.
So let's talk about like completely. When does that start to happen, you think?
When does which part?
Us being socialized to get out of like what we have maybe done in the context that we were brought up in and start to like adapt, to adjust to the context that we're in or different contexts.
So if we're going back to like past and how I think we've gotten to that point.
Ooh, we can go there.
I'm thinking of how, grandmas, great grandmas, you don't be doing that in front of white folk. Like you had to mind your behavior, your P's, your Q's, your language, your eye point, like where you looked, how you looked, what you did, how you spoke, how you greeted around white people. And then when you're in the comfort of your own home or your family or your culture or your people, you good, whatever.
That is great. And I think you're right. When you came into like what was then and now like the dominant culture as far as like who controlled the narrative, right? Many folks, you're right, was saying like, hey, we want to fit in. So if you even go back to things like, I remember talking to people who are, who might come over, English is not their first language, right? And when they got here, whether it be somebody who might speak Spanish or they might be from like an Asian country or whatever it might be, they did not allow their kids to speak anything other than English. Right? Because of like what that might have meant. And they even dressed differently. And I had just one lady, she did a great job. She was speaking at a diversity conference I was at. And she talked about even the shows that they were watching. Like they were only allowed to watch like one Korean show at the house, but they had to watch all American TV in her Korean family because they wanted to start to adapt to the cultures. Like,
and not have an accent so that you don't become targeted, so that you're not looked at differently.
Wow, that's such a really good point.
Big on safety.
Yeah, and you can see it generationally, right? Like if you look at like our parents' parents, or our parents, like people were like, no, we're trying our best to be accepted into these places. The idea of integration,
right?
The MLK approach versus the Malcolm X approach, which is like we be ourselves. It's the Malcolm X approach, and the MLK was like we need to integrate, but oftentimes what happened with that integration is we had to conform.
Because you almost become invisible because the goal is not to be seen as othered, right? So you're just trying to blend in.
So code switching is a lot more like we have minimized the idea of like this language. It is actually a structural thing, right? It's a structural idea that we're talking about of like who controls the narrative in the word of our guy Hamilton. Right? Who's writing the narrative? Who controls the culture in society? You know
Every time he makes a reference to Hamilton, I get happy.
That was good, Money Mo.
Thank you.
Yeah, way to bring that back. And I think we start to do that. Like I think from what we see on TV in schools, depending on like what type of school you go to, where you at. That's very valid. That's very, very valid. Do you remember a time when you started? Like first, I'm just assuming. Do you feel like you've been through things and have had to code switch?
Oh, absolutely.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah. Because, I mean, even when I was younger, right? Because, again, I grew up in Brooklyn, so I'm coming from a Caribbean family, and I'm only in schools with Black and brown peers, right? And so the language that I'm hearing, although Barbados was controlled by Britain and they spoke English, you know, every culture has their own accent, broken English. So the way they would speak was different. And then in Brooklyn, the way you speak can sound different if you're not from the city, right? And so I'm hearing both of those and I speak how I speak. And people tell me I have an accent. I don't know. Either way, I can vividly remember my uncle and my mom both checking my words. Like they would not allow me to just speak however. Like whatever I heard outside didn't matter. I had to speak properly. And I was very frustrated. It annoyed me. I didn't feel like it should be that when I'm home I have to speak this way too. Let me just be. But no, and I get it because it's a safety thing. Like they did not want me to be looked at or treated any type of way. But I had to like learn to conform at home and practice it outside, right? Like I had to do it. And to the point where I got so frustrated, I started speaking very Shakespearean. I did that. And they laughed and left me alone. But I knew, at that point, I just knew. I was like, there's no in between.
Was that kind of rebellious a little bit?
Oh, yes. I will find the best ways to rebel in a respectful manner, right? But, I can look back and appreciate it now because I've done this for every job role. Because once I moved, I was not only with Black and brown. I was heavily only with white peers. So not just white teachers, but also white peers. Completely different. And I was like, oh, that actually prepared me. It prepared me, which sounds like, girl, nah, it prepared me.
Wow.
Because I was less threatening now. Right? Ain't nobody been scared of me. Right. And I've had my Black friends use me to speak to white people when needing favors or help. Because they're like, no one's going to be scared of you. You're probably going to get it. And I was looking at them like, what hurt? And then I did it. And I was like, they're right.
Wow.
They're right.
And that goes to the question, is it a survival tool or inauthentic? And in that case, it was like, oh, we're helping people survive. Wow.
Oh, yeah. Pure survival.
Wow.
Because I'm still myself.
Wow.
I find. I've just learned how to not show my full self because everybody don't need that. And I like me, but everybody don't need access to that. Personally. What are you thinking? This man was cooking. He was typing. What are you thinking?
Thank you for the question. I
knew it.
No, I thought that was good. And I feel like, dang, it's like, you know, in a place where you feel like, well, two things I was thinking. First is that at home, if that was like what was required, then it's like, when is it safe to just be me? And when do I lose, like, who is actually me? You know what I'm saying? But again, that's coming from the context of like people trying to, that's all out of love. The intent is like, I want you to be able to make it. Yeah. In order to make it in this world, you have to do this thing.
Yeah.
100%. That's what I was thinking. But I also was thinking how like different that was, you know, for me, when you like, nah, I still feel like me. I'm like, man, that's tough. Like, because for me, I definitely, like, code switch was never like talked about for me. Like, nobody was like, all right, you got to do this thing. It was just like, it started to happen because I started to get into spaces that none of my people was in. So like when I grew up, like growing up, all the way through up until my senior year of high school, I was in a place that was predominantly, and even a lot of the teachers though, not all of them, but predominantly was black. The culture was black. The vibe was black. The experience was black. It was black. Detroit is
black
most, yeah, Detroit is the most black large city. People don't know that.
I love it.
So it's black. And then my senior year, I went to a school that was like, I used to say predominantly white, but that's before I fully understood what was going on. It was very diverse. Because for a long time for me, because I didn't know any different, if you weren't black, you were white. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's until I realized different. But no, so it's very diverse. And so in that space, like, you know, I'm somebody who, I'm very observant. Again, because of the way I was raised, like, and when you raise in a place where a lot of things that you do are criticized, you become very self-critical, which is the same muscle as self-awareness. I said that before. So being aware, or just awareness in general, I realized, like, the rules of winning here are different than the rules of winning where I was. Like, it's very different. So I caught on quick, like, all right, how do you navigate this space and win in this space, right? And so, like, going through conversations and navigating things, it's like, man, this is like, I started realizing, like, yeah, if I say for sure versus, oh, absolutely. You know what I'm saying? And I usually talk, like, oh, yeah, like, oh, you tripping versus like, no, I don't know what you mean by that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I started to realize, like, oh, okay, like it's very different reception. And so I started being able to adapt my language depending on where I was so I can go back with my people and still be like, oh, no, bro, definitely, like, I got you, gang. Versus saying like something, oh, yeah, oh, for sure. For sure, sir. Which it never went that far, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I just realized that I could do that, right? You speak two different languages, and honestly for a while, and what I was doing when I was typing, it's like there's a song that completely expresses what I meant. So J. Cole got a song, it's called Folding Clothes, and in this verse he says this. He talks about the difference between like how you have to do that in all of our environments as a black person. So the words say, some of these words ain't safe for work, so we're gonna say it. He said, people from the hood be the best actors. We the ones that gotta wear our face backwards. Put your frown on before they think you soft. Never smile long or take your defense off. Right? So he's like, all right, when I'm in this place, I know where I'm wrong. Like when I go back to Detroit, I'm out and about, like I'm not smiling. Yeah. Very different somewhere. I'm in a different zone because like, all right, you on defense.
I remember that.
You know?
Yeah. My like, happy-go-lucky self was like, huh, this is different.
Right. Now, then he talk about that, but then in the same verse, he said the opposite. He said people from the hood is the best actors. Got on to speak in ways that's unnatural. Just to make it through the job interviews, if my people heard me, they say, dang, what's gotten into you? Right? So it's like, now I'm in a different place where it's like, I do have to change up the way I speak and act. But if the people who I was just with, who I got a frown for, hear me, they're like, bro, what's wrong with you?
Right.
Like, you acting white.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like, dang. So for me, of like, did I feel inauthentic? Yeah. When I was in this place and I like started to, even the things that switched in terms of how I behaved, or like how I expressed myself, because that's all part of code switching, like we were saying, was starting to change. Because I was exposed to more for a long time until I really found security in me. It did feel inauthentic, 100%.
That's real.
You know what I'm saying?
I get that.
Yeah, I'm like, why am I like, why did I just say that?
Yeah.
It's like, what?
No, I get that.
I was like, why would I? Did I just say I would go skiing? I ain't never been, y'all. But it's like, why would I go skiing?
I've been once.
I should be hooping.
It wasn't worth it.
You stupid.
Fell in the ditch twice. But anyway, yeah, it was a hot mess.
Life is tough.
I was like 13.
But you know what I'm saying, though?
Like,
yeah. So, yeah, I think you can see the inauthentic. Like, I think a lot of
people absolutely. No, I get that. Because especially when it's that much of a distinction, right?
Yes.
Like you're very aware that you have to like, I'm hopping on a whole different train right now. Like I get that. I feel like it's less inauthentic for me only because I had to speak like this at home too. There was really no in between. I found my outlets with peer groups. So with my friends, right? Like no parent ears are at school with you. You feel me? Or I'm on the phone on a regular. Or when I came out here, even though my peers were mostly white in college,
I got you.
My friends ended up being people from the city, from New York City.
Right,
same. And so I stayed as close to what was comfortable as possible. And so I felt like myself because that I just did the same thing in all spaces, right?
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's dope. And I think, too, it's definitely harder for people who are navigating, like, right, the ones who navigate outside of the spaces, like, your dominant context that you grew up in. So, if I would have went through school, never went to that, like, white school, went to school that, like, at HBCU, I would have never, ever, ever had to do any of that, right? I do think it does make me more well-rounded because now I found a centering.
Yes.
To where it's like, oh, no, this is me regardless of where I'm at, you know? I can understand other things happening, but I don't have to conform to any of that. That's a long journey, and some people get lost in that and really have like internal deep struggles.
Yes,
because it's like, yo, code switching can feel so inauthentic, but it feels like you have to do it to survive.
And you've seen it. Like I recall us both seeing this in other people,
right?
Where it's like, they always say that all skin folk ain't kinfolk or whatever. Because I'm like, there is something different here.
Brother is in the sunken place.
Literally. Because it's like, B, are you okay? Do you need us?
You went too far with this,
you
right?
know? Because like,
just put the black signal. We'll come help you.
And it's like, you know how you ended up there. We get it.
Yeah.
But I got a lot of support because of my outlets. Praise the Lord for that.
Same.
I ain't gonna lie.
Same. I get that though.
Yeah.
Yeah, nah. You seen him like, oh, nobody was there to check you, and you took this too far. Which I appreciate that my closest friends are all folks, like all of my guy friends, majority are all folks who I went to went to high school with. So they coming from
like they know you.
They the same. So if I get to fool, they like, hey bro, you tripping. Like it was just the other day we had a big time Detroit concert that I had forgot all about what's happening. But it's the biggest concert in the city. And then somebody texts about the concert. I'm like, what concert? They're like, oh, you a 50-year New Yorker, bro. Like you out of there. but they keep me connected back.
Rooted
into like I always got this North Star to where I feel like I'm getting too far. They got me, and that's probably a way to help to avoid code switching is get your North Star, B. Yeah, we got each other.
Yeah. What?
We'll be like, oh, you tripping.
I don't know. Last time you told me like you a little too far up there. I'm like, thank you. I'm like, I've been good. I've been solid.
Yeah. And it got real implications too, because they had did a survey and looked at like black folks in leadership, and the people who are like further up in leadership feel they have to do more of the code switch.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
Very true.
Because like it does have implications of like hiring and like promotion. Go ahead.
Because I'm thinking back to like the times I've interviewed and they've been with white people and the response toward me almost like, well, I mean, how old are you? Or like looking at me almost like it's a prize. And I have never felt comfortable with that. It's always felt like this part of me wants to be very angry and the fact that you're looking at me as if I differ from anyone else who has a skin color.
Right,
you know what I mean?
Right.
It's like, no. Don't get it twisted.
Right. Like the idea of like the whole concept of, not that people say this to you, but they say like, well, I don't really see you as.
Yeah.
Right.
Or like, oh, she's a safe one or you're a good one. Like, you know what I mean? Like people have said enough sly things where I'm catching on. I'm like.
Yeah. It's like, oh, because, and what does that mean? And all that means is that when I'm around you, I don't have to disrupt my normative behaviors or my conform to, or I can be comfortable, right? And it's like, same as you, it's like, oh no, I'll be tight. And I haven't gotten that all the time. But if I do, it's like, oh no, I want you to know, like, you ain't gonna be able to be comfortable up in here. But nah, for sure. And that is what it's about. It's that in those spaces, the dominant culture doesn't want to be uncomfortable. It wants to remain, there's a commitment to normalcy that's been set by the dominant culture.
Right.
And anything that comes in that's different than that, right? People respond negatively. And there's not like direct penalties for not code switching, right?
No.
And that's why people do it. Because it's not direct, like, hey, you're going to get fired today, or hey, whatever. But it's subtle cues.
Yes.
People respond differently. They don't ask you to do certain things. You might not get that promotion. You might get certain looks. People don't get the jokes that you say. They don't get the references that you have. And all of that makes you feel ousted, like an outsider.
You're right.
And so people say, I don't want to be like an outsider because that's a scary thing. Cognitively, that's like negative because everybody gets rewarded cognitively for fitting in. So then you stop being yourself.
Right.
Right.
Because, that whole trope of the stereotypical angry black person. So people be like quick to be like, I feel threatened. Nobody wants to go through that.
So my question to you is like, do you think, into our question, is it a survival tool or is it inauthentic, or is it both?
I think it depends on the person, definitely. And I think even if it's inauthentic, it's still a survival tool.
Oh, you getting dapped up. That was heat.
Thanks.
That was heat.
But truthfully, because even if you cannot be yourself, you know you're only choosing to do that to survive this.
Because you got to make it. Yes.
And that's the goal.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the way the system is set up, sometimes you're not able to merge the two or center, or, you don't always have that support behind you where you can do that. You have to become a little more inauthentic.
Yeah.
Which isn't fair.